Hey, this is Matthew. Welcome back to Nerd News. Today, once again, we've got ourselves another statue to look at. This one's coming to us from Diamond Select. This is part of their Gallery Diorama series, and this is, of course, the iconic Bruce Lee. So Diamond started doing some Bruce Lee stuff last year, and they've continued the line with some really cool looking pieces, and this is one of them here, one of the more affordable ones, in fact, because this statue is a PVC statue, so fairly lightweight, not very heavy as opposed to resin pieces. But because it's PVC, does it lose any of its quality? Well, let's find out. So the box itself is your typical Diamond box. Nice, easy, stackable square box, in fact, with a very large window on the inside so you could get a peek at what our Bruce Lee is doing. There's also windows on each side so you can get a nice view into, well, all sides of it. And speaking of all sides, of course, you can't have a Diamond statue and not have the Diamond sunroof. In terms of colors in the box, it's very simple color-wise, and that's just the Game of Death colors here. It's the yellow with the black, and that's in fact the outfit that he's wearing today. That's from the Game of Death outfit. We'll take a better look at that once we get him open. The front of the box here also has the Bruce Lee official licensed logo, and the title of this piece, which is Kick. I gotta say, that's actually a fairly underwhelming front of the box. I'd actually be more happy if it just said Bruce Lee and didn't have Kick on it at all. It's just kind of funny that just this very simple kind of one word, a little tiny thing down there. Don't really think it was needed as much, because I really think that what you can see on the inside does speak for itself. So let's talk about the back real quick as well, which gives us a better shot of what this statue is gonna look like. We've also got ourselves a quote from Bruce Lee, one of his more famous quotes, which is, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And the back of the box also tells us who's responsible for this piece, and it was designed by Nelson X. Asensio and sculpted by Rocco Tartamella. You can also see next to him there is another Bruce Lee statue, and that's the water piece, which you can imagine obviously is going to have his "Be Like Water" quote on the back of that one. So it is cool here, since we're not going to really be talking about this piece once we open them up, is that we do have the dichotomy of the two different philosophies here. We have Bruce Lee here with his water flowing with it and being like the water, as you can see. Very cool looking piece as well. And while this piece with the water, I'd say, is more about more neutral and more defensive, we can now see the other version of that philosophy, which is the exertion of the energy into the kick, being something more aggressive rather than defensive. So two different philosophies here, and they're showing those elements with fire and water. It's a very simple philosophy, but it's really cool when you see them side by side. So that's enough about the boxes though. Let's go ahead and get our Bruce Lee out and take a look at him from all angles. And we're back, and here is our Bruce Lee statue now loose on the display. Let's get a better look at this guy. So number one, of course, the first thing we always talk about is the likeness. Is that likeness Bruce Lee's face? You know what, I gotta say, from looking at it in the outside of the packaging, but now that I'm seeing him out of the box and I'm looking at him much more closely, I'd say that actually is a very good Bruce Lee likeness. Like, I don't think it's a perfect 10, but again, this isn't like the most super detailed statue either. So I think it's actually a pretty solid looking representation of Bruce. I think they've captured his look here very well. They've captured the expression as well. I think the expression is what really nails it for me. So I think it's a pretty good version of him. And you know, it's always funny because I've seen like the prototypes of this at Toy Fair, and so I've kind of seen like the evolution of the face, and you can see even on the back of the packaging like what these prototypes look like, because that's what's photographed, I believe. And you know, it's always hard to take something from proto phase to then mass produce it in the style that they do with Diamond statues here. But I think this is one of the better ones yet. It didn't suffer that much from that process, and it's a very strong likeness here of Bruce Lee. And I gotta say, to compare it to, let's say, the Diamond Select figures they did of Bruce Lee, there was two figures of Bruce there. Those were designed by Yuri Taming and sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios. And I thought the faces on those action figures did not look good at all, to be honest. I was really unhappy with those faces. I mean, they were okay, but they didn't really do it for me. You know, they didn't really nail it either. Whereas this statue comes much, much closer to nailing Bruce Lee's look. And, you know, from all angles especially, I think they got it. You know, really, in fact, it might not be as easy to tell from this angle here, but I think especially when you see him from this side, it looks like him. Like, they really got a three-quarter profile down. You know, he's got an interesting face to sculpt, and it's at times, I think, a little bit difficult also, but I think they accomplished that here. I think they accomplished what they set out to do here, and it's a good-looking Bruce Lee. Another thing that really helps out this piece is the body. I think the body is 100% perfect-looking Bruce Lee body. The hands as well really nail it, and I love those hands too. I love just how like lifelike those hands really do feel, and the movement that's with them. You know, that's a big part of this too, is aside from the body being correct and the anatomy being correct, it's the movement and flow of the piece as well. You really make it feel like it's Bruce Lee in action. So this outfit, as we mentioned, is his look in the Game of Death. It's the jumpsuit that he wore at the very end of the movie for the big climactic fight scenes with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the two other folks. And if you guys have never seen like the full unreleased footage of that fight as well, I recommend you check it out. It's part of a lot of Enter the Dragon Blu-ray and DVD special features. It's like a 45-minute long fight scene that is extended from what we got in the final version of the film that was released in America, which was like 15 minutes long. Really, really worth checking out. So much awesome parts that, we could talk about Bruce Lee on another day, but if you haven't seen that footage of him, you really do need to. But yeah, the colors are really great looking. The material also, it's, while it might not be quite as glossy maybe as I remember it being in the movie, it still has a nice fabric feel to it, and then that's a big part of it too, is they really got all the folds in the fabric correct. I mean, really look at that torso, look at his thigh and his crotch area. It's weird as it is to say, but if you really take a good look at that, you'll see like all the detail that went into that. And all the folds really make this piece so lifelike. Even if you don't think that the head is like a perfect 10 or whatever, it's everything else that makes this just look so realistic, and that I can definitely genuinely appreciate. And let's take a good look at that flame as well. Like, I love just looking at this flame kicking around. Really cool looking effect. We always love the transparent plastics here, and this flamey kick. I guess you could say now Bruce Lee is a firebender, and I wouldn't be surprised by that whatsoever. But man, that's a really cool looking effect. I love how it kind of pillows up. It reminds me a lot of the effect they used in the Rocketeer figure, in fact, which I also loved. I think it actually looks a little bit better here too, though, especially because it's so much more elongated and dynamic looking. Another neat thing here too they got is also his shoes, which is kind of cool to say as well. I don't remember exactly how accurate the shoes are to the movie because I haven't watched them or looked at the shoes really to check that out, but the shoes look really nice. He got some slamming kicks there. Another thing I also like about this piece is the base. He's got this really nice tatami mat underneath him. Again, we've got those smoke plumes around him showing the speed and energy of his kick. But what I also really enjoy is the nunchuck stand over here. So this little piece here I could, do without or ever. I don't really understand this piece that much, but it's the nunchucks that I'm really, really into. He's got the yellow nunchucks that he used in the movie on the really nice looking nunchuck stand, which I don't think is actually meant to be a nunchuck stand. It's kind of a stand for probably like a sword or something, but whatever it is, it really looks cool. I like that little detail there. Really looking at this piece from all angles, it's a very good looking, strong looking Bruce Lee piece. Now, being that this is a PVC piece, did this lose any quality versus resin piece? I have to say, especially now that we've looked at it loose, no, this is really, really good piece, like no comparison. I'm sure that their PVC stuff is gonna be even stronger than this, but this is already a very good looking piece. And there's so much really great things to talk about with it, so many positive things, aside from the really, really good likeness of him, the realistic folds in his clothing as he does this movement, the very also realistic and lifelike anatomy, and how they capture the essence of Bruce in his hands and his feet and all of his movement here as well. I love the texture on those tatami mats. I really dig the nunchuck stand, and of course, the fire effect is brilliant as always. So really, this is a very strong piece for any Bruce Lee fans out there, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys are absolutely big Bruce Lee fans. So if you want to have a really nice looking piece to add to your collection, I'd say this or the water piece are both strong contenders. If you don't really have much Bruce Lee wise in your home and you really want to have something of him, I think both of them are actually very good pieces. But in addition to those, there also are resin busts of Bruce, which are way bigger, of course, obviously more expensive, but they're also really cool, and they have like a flaming dragon effect in them. Maybe one day we'll take a look at that piece as well. That's another really good one, but I gotta say, they're a big upgrade for me over the Diamond Select action figures. I've looked at one of the figures and I wasn't too impressed. I saw the other one. They're fine. But really, I'd probably recommend you just spend the extra money and get yourself the PVC statue here. Get this one or the water piece. I think that they're really good looking pieces, very strong representations of who Bruce Lee is, of his work, and just the ideas behind them. That's the thing too, is they really kind of captured the philosophies of what they're doing with these poses here. So I can really appreciate that. I think you guys will too. I can't stress just how good looking these pieces are, and I was actually expecting to be a little bit underwhelmed by it when I saw it outside the box. But as always, it's usually what happens here. When I'm underwhelmed by a statue from Diamond, that's when I open them and I get completely blown away by how good they are. So that's just another case of that happening here. I can just really feel the dynamic energy coming from this piece too, just like that kick right there is him just kicking somebody right in the face, doing that awesome side kick, which he does do in Game of Death. So they totally nailed that look right there. So I can easily give this a recommendation for any Bruce Lee fans out there or any martial artists out there that want to add a new Bruce Lee piece to their collection. Totally recommend this. Very easy to recommend this piece, in fact. It just looks so good on all fronts. I don't think you're going to find too many better pieces at such an affordable price point either, because this statue I think is about 50 bucks maybe. And that price will vary depending where you get it from. But for what it is, I mean, man, you can't beat that. It's a good looking piece. And I would say, in fact, if you want to own it for yourself, consider using our Amazon affiliate links that you can find in the description of this video right below. It helps us out and costs you guys nothing extra. So please help support Nerd News today by buying this statue or other pieces like it using our affiliate links. So once again, just another really strong piece from Diamond Select and their gallery diorama line. Can't recommend this enough, I really can't. And I think you're gonna like this one too if you add it into your home or your gym or wherever you wanna put this piece. It's a great looking tribute and one that I think all Bruce Lee lovers should have. So on that note, I'm Matthew. Thanks for watching this video today. If you liked what you saw, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can see all of our other statue reviews, action figure reviews, and everything else that we do here on the channel. So until next time, thanks for watching this video, be safe out there, and of course, be like water. See you next time.